outdoors in the Alleghenies. Today we're going to talk a little bit about kayaking. We'll cover the equipment you'll need, the techniques you'll use, and all the great places there are to explore here in the Alleghenies. If you own a kayak, the Alleghenies is a great place to bring your boat. We have whitewater rivers, flatwater rivers, and flatwater lakes, including Pennsylvania's largest inland lake, with specially designated no-wake zones, making it a perfect place for a day out on the water. Today, we're at Canoe Creek State Park in the Alleghenies, and our kayaking playground is 155-acre Canoe Lake. The first piece of equipment we'll talk about today is the most basic piece of equipment you'll need for kayaking, and that is the kayak itself. There are various types of kayaks, and the kind that you buy will determine which kind of kayaking you want to do. Whitewater kayaks are very small, highly maneuverable boats used for whitewater river running. They react quickly to the actions of their paddler. They're easy to turn, but also very tippy in the hands of an inexperienced river runner. Recreational kayaks are larger, more stable boats. They provide a very solid platform in the water for the paddler. Oftentimes, recreational boats will also feature a storage area or dry well for you to place your gear that you might use for the day, such as a camera or your lunch. And finally, touring kayaks. These are much longer, sleeker kayaks than the other two I've just mentioned. Touring kayaks offer a sleeker hull, more narrow platform. They can be a little less stable than your recreational boats, but they have an ability for better tracking in the water, and that means keeping them going in a straight line is easier for the paddler. Other than the kayak, the next most important piece of equipment that you need is a PFD, or personal flotation device. If you own a boat, you have to own one of these. Just like there are different types of kayaks to fit different tastes, there are different types of paddles to fit various types of paddling needs. Remember that paddles come in different lengths, and get one that fits you. This is a fairly straightforward two-piece design that offers 3 settings so that I can match it to the type of paddling needs I have when I'm out on the water. The spray skirt is probably a lot more important for a whitewater kayaker than any other type of paddler. It's basically worn by the paddler and connects to the cockpit, creating a watertight seal, so your boat stays dry and you stay afloat. Even if you do wear a spray skirt, chances are water is going to get into your boat someday, somewhere, somehow. And when that happens, you want to have a pump. I carry a whistle for the simple reason that I can blow this a lot louder and a lot longer than I can yell if I do need help out on the water. A blister out here can ruin your day, and if it makes paddling too painful and you're a long way from the takeout, it can make things pretty miserable for you. And of course, a hat, sunglasses, and sunscreen. Water intensifies the effects of the sun, so be safe and cover up. Now before we go out on the water, let's take a closer look at some of our equipment and talk about the proper way to use it. We'll start with the paddle. The paddle consists of a shaft and 2 blades. This paddle happens to be an asymmetrical paddle, meaning that each blade has a defined top and bottom. Not all paddles are, but if yours is, you want to be sure you're holding it properly to get the most power out of each and every stroke. I have it made. My paddle happens to have words on each blade, so I know that as long as those words are upright and facing me, I have the paddle held correctly. Speaking of holding the paddle, let's look at hand position. You want your hands on the shaft, held very lightly. This will help cut down on blisters and fatigue while you're out on the water. Keep them just a little bit over shoulder width apart. This way you can apply the right amount of power to your strokes and get the most of your distances out on the lake. Now that we've talked a little bit about the proper hand position and paddle position, let's talk about our next step, and that is our forward stroke. The stroke that's going to move us across the lakes and streams of the Alleghenies and allow us to explore for days on end. One of the important things to remember about the forward stroke is simply that it's not all about your arms and your shoulders. It's about your torso. This is your power center. This is where you're going to be able to keep a good stroke going for long periods of time without wearing yourself out. So, with hands positioned properly and blades positioned properly, let's take a look at that stroke. What you want to do is simply reach forward with your blade, left arm in this case extended, right arm bent. You're going to contract the left and extend the right. Now, remember that you also want to add the torso to this motion. So it's this, and it's this, and it's this. It's not this. This is a sure way to wear yourself out. It'll cut back on your enjoyment and certainly cut back on the amount of time you can spend out there. Okay, now that we've covered some of the basics, let's get our boats in the water, have a little bit of fun. On this lake we have a boat ramp, and that makes things even simpler for us. Remember to always look for places that have calm water to launch your boat. It'll just make life simpler. Now, the boat's all loaded, I'm all set, and it's time to get out on the water. To do that, I'm going to place the bow of the boat in the water right here by the ramp. Ease the boat out, making sure to keep the stern of the boat in contact with the boat ramp. Now, I'm going to place one leg into the cockpit. I usually lead with my right, using the paddle and my left leg to maintain my balance. Then I slide my rear just behind the seat of the boat, bringing my left leg up and into the cockpit. Then I simply ease the rest of myself into the cockpit, resting comfortably on the seat. Again, using the paddle as a brace to help me keep my balance. Then it's just a matter of rocking and pushing the boat until I'm off the ramp and out into open water. It's not always the most graceful maneuver, but it's certainly one of the easier ways to launch your kayak. The Alleghenies has a lot of great places to work on your technique. I hope you'll get out and experience some of them and enjoy yourself on the water. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you in the outdoors.